Hello and welcome to the RAIC Corporate Affiliate Series. My name is Pamela Burke and I am the Education Coordinator at the RAIC. Our corporate affiliate for today's webinar is Mortarr. Mortarr is the leading search engine for commercial construction and design. Whether you're looking for project inspiration, commercial grade products, or commercial professionals, it's all one click away on mortarr.com. For more information, visit mortarr.com or download the Mortarr app, now available for free from the App Store or Google Play. Today's presentation is titled Sourcing More Sustainable Products for Your Project, presented by Blake Adams and Jen Levisen.
All right, hello everybody, welcome. Welcome to RAIC Corporate Affiliate Series, Sourcing More Sustainable Products for Your Projects. My name is Blake Adams, FLA with Mortarr, and I have a co-host here.
Hi, my name is Jen Levisen. I'm Director of Content here at Mortarr, as well as Editor-in-Chief of our forum. So thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, we're really excited to share some material with you guys and go over a few things as it pertains to sustainability and different products. And that's coming to the forefront of a lot of conversations as of recently. So we wanted to go through a few things that we have to share with you. So yeah, let's go on here. There we go. Overview. So what is material transparency and why does it matter? So we're going to go in depth on material transparency. What are key considerations when it comes to material transparency? How do you evaluate if a material or product is sustainably manufactured? And also, how can you make the sourcing process more efficient while keeping sustainability top of mind? Here are some learning outcomes of this presentation. Where do you start with material transparency? How do you know what chemicals are included on products? What is the impact of material transparency? And then how can you evaluate if manufacturers disclose and are transparent? So to start the conversation here, over 49% of the US consumption comes from the built environment. And doing a little bit of research as well, 30% of the overall energy use and 25% of the emissions was attributed to the built environment in Canada as well. What is our response to this? Well, our overarching response is a much larger conversation today. We can answer the question, how do we start? As professionals working within the built environment, we can start by simply focusing on the materials we use. What are they made of? Where do they come from? And what is all in them? And what effect do they have on the environment?
So it's a very large, hairy question, but if we just dial it in on where do we start, it becomes more manageable for ourselves and our teams and our firms.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I'm sure I may speak for a lot of people when I say the majority of us look at what we eat, what's in it, where did it come from, how will it affect my health. We often make the decision on what to eat based on those key questions and are given the opportunity due to the requirements of nutrition labels. We should do the same when sourcing materials for our projects. So let's go into material transparency and what it actually is real quick. Number one, manufacturers fully disclosing the material content of a product. Number two, manufacturers taking the initiative to track down the recipe of each material they use in their product. So really looking and breaking down what and where this product and the chemical makeup and how it's being manufactured. Manufacturers, number three, manufacturers sharing the information with consumers. And number four, consumers being informed on products, ingredients is as important as food package having a detailed nutritional label on the back. And we can be that change by demanding change. A 2020 Sustainability Trends report found that over 80% of the A&D community want to specify more sustainable products. And 2 out of every 3 feel that they are not doing so responsibly today. If I asked all of you on this webinar today, how would you respond? Would you agree or disagree? Are you sourcing sustainable products for your projects? Are you doing enough to bring down our industry's carbon footprint? No matter where you stand today, I hope that by the end of this presentation, you feel confident in where to start. There are many things to consider when it comes to material transparency, and it is tough to know where to begin. We will point out a few considerations today and give you some tools and resources to start somewhere. When it comes to material transparency, first point we want to talk about is, why is material transparency important? Well, people spend so much time indoors, whether it be in their home or at the workplace, and approximately 90% of our time is spent in an indoor environment. There are more than 80,000 chemicals in use today for all kinds of products, and many of those go unregulated. Knowing this, it is important to pay attention to what is going into the products we select. Even more, what will these products with certain chemical makeup do to the environment during production, shipping, installation, throughout its lifespan, and then after its lifespan? What effects of each of these stages have on the environment? When we pay attention to material transparency, we can start the conversation in the beginning stages of a product, design, job, etc., whatever you may be working on. And looking into a recent study, Architect's Journey to Specification says 34% are impartial with clients about sustainability, which includes sourcing products that disclose material transparency. This means they have a conversation with the clients, but ultimately it's the client's choice. And that is completely understandable. The client is there, but we can go around that by starting the conversation early, by introducing strategies and goals that promote well-being and environmentally friendly practices early on in that design process. You may spark their interest, leading to more conversation about that during the design phase. So when it comes time to actual design and specification, it is built into the plan. Set expectations, write them down, take notes, and just really have that conversation with them. The client may have goals of theirs already, but organize and prioritize those goals. One may be social responsibility, another carbon reduction. Will their employees enjoy the space? And introduce how material transparency can help. Even if it can lead into one more sustainable product selection, it will have a lasting impact. As you shift how to evaluate products and finishes that are specified, you want to consider 5 buckets of sustainability, which are climate health, human health, ecosystem health, circular economy, and social health and equity. We'll touch on that a little bit later.
Well, and I'd love to add a comment too. So in my role, I mentioned I'm editor-in-chief of our forum, which is an online journal for the commercial construction and design industry. And I had an opportunity to talk with Eric Corey-Fried. He's the VP of Sustainability at Canon Design, a large A&D firm based out on the West Coast. And he had a statement that just stuck with me, that we in the A&D world, we who impact the built environment, have a responsibility, a moral and ethical obligation to push our clients toward net zero energy, healthy and resilient buildings now. We are uniquely positioned to have an impact at that level. And that comes not only from the building itself to the products within the space. And he added too, he's like, the best part is if you do it right, you can actually save the clients money. And so just want to reiterate that, that you all have such a unique opportunity and a unique position to make that change for clients and for the built environment. So I just thought that was a really interesting statement that he had made.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was a very good conversation. He's definitely a forefront and leader in that. And yes, it's very great. And one thing that also he says is really just start. It doesn't have to be everything all at once. Pick one thing, whether it's a product specification or learning about how the chemical makeup of the products you're using, some of the things that we're going to be touching on today, or learning about LEED or USGBC guidelines, or, well, obviously in Canadian guidelines, I know they have theirs as well, that will lead to LEED projects too. If you are inexperienced or not as informed as you'd like on material transparency or sustainable design, ask. See what your firm already has in place. Search for a product, project, or a product library. If your firm doesn't have a healthier material library, start putting one together on your own. You can always do that. Resources such as the Mindful Materials Database, us at Mortarr.com, or ILFI are a couple easy ways to curate eco-conscious products and ideas that can get you started. I'll touch on those a little bit later as well. But generally, in our industry, Pros I have spoken to about the topics at hand who are advocating for more sustainable building and design practices aren't shy to share their experiences or their resources that they've already put together with someone that is willing to learn and wanting to ask the questions. They are passionate about it and eager to educate and collaborate to encourage progress within the industry as this movement's really taking off. We have awareness of what we put into our bodies. Why won't we pay attention to what we're putting into our buildings, out of which we spend 90% of our day? It really only makes sense to do so. So that is why material transparency is important. Next that we want to cover would be which chemicals are toxic to humans. When we pay attention to chemicals used in various product materials, we start to realize the impact it can not only have on our environment, but on human health as well. Mortarr CEO Abby Murray recently spoke on a panel about material toxicity and transparency. And one of the panelists, Berta Alexander, co-founder and artist in residence at Studio O+A, a design firm in California, shared her own experience about the impact materials have had on her health. She had developed a thyroid issue. After some testing, they determined that she needed to get rid of some things in her home, such as couches, mattresses, chairs, anything to do with it. Really could have been anything that they said, really honestly, because they found it was a halogenated fire retardant of some sort. Her doctor told her to go vintage, essentially, go back before the 70s and 80s when they started using those various chemicals, those different flame retardant products into materials. So yeah, basically they said for her to go vintage and get rid of everything in her home. Mm-hmm. Jen might have a little bit to share on that too. She was a little bit part of that conversation. Anything else to add on that?
No, it was a really interesting conversation. So Abby from our team joined Berta, Annie Bevan from Mindful Materials, Jane Abernethy from Human Scale, and just to hear kind of the breakdown on, if you think about materials, like you think about what you put in your body, and like the whole idea of materials having a nutrition label. It was just such an interesting way to make it more of a understandable concept, I think. And Jane had made a comment, and I think we'll see this earlier or later in the presentation too, but Jane had made a comment about, if you see the wear and tear on a material that has left the material and has come into the environment and kind of gone on to the people that have been using it. And it's just interesting to think about, very eye-opening.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. And to go a little bit deeper into that as well, of course, when the picture is this clear, it's easy for us as consumers to say that's not what we want to select for ourselves or for our clients. That's why we need to pay attention to those chemicals that are going into the products that we use within our homes, within the built environment in general, because, again, there can be toxicity and toxic materials and chemicals into those products. With more consumers and A&D professionals giving weight to what is in products we select, we can increase the demand for manufacturers to make better products from the ground up. And we as consumers make choices based on what is in the product, what effects it may have, not only on the environment, but ourselves and the people who use the space, just as we do with the food we consume. We could get into a whole slew of chemicals that are toxic, but the most important thing to remember is that those 80,000 I mentioned earlier, only 5 are fully regulated. Now, excuse me, I'm going to read a couple things off here. So we'll see if they go. So I'll name the 5. So polychlorinated biphenyls, PCBs, fully halogenated chlorofluorcanes, I believe is how it's pronounced, dioxin, asbestos, and hexavalent chromium. So those are the 5 that are fully regulated currently. And there are some that you just can't get away from, but you can make the choice if you wish to decide to use a particular piece that has that chemical. Something you may or may not be familiar with is the red list. Red list represents the worst in class materials, chemicals, and elements known to pose serious risks to human health and the greater ecosystem that are prevalent in the building products industry. The International Living Future Institute, ILFI, believes that these materials should be phased out of production due to human and or environmental health and toxicity concerns. The red list covers some well-known toxins, like I mentioned above, asbestos and formaldehyde we didn't mention, but yes, but also highlights concerns with PCBs and wood treatments that contain creosote and pentachlorophenol, Remaining familiar with ILFI's red list in a great way to stay current with chemicals you should look to avoid in your product selections. So ILFI actually goes through every single year. They go from the main 5, but they also take in consideration from their own power of what they do when they look into a manufacturer trying to be certified through their regulations and their guidelines. So it's constantly changing. So it's always good to look into what they're doing and what lists they have added, because it will give you the information, basically that nutrition label of what is in this ingredient, or what is in this product, I should say. So you have the knowledge base and the wherewithal of making that decision, an educated decision on what is in the product. We will touch on that a little bit later as well, which with a declare label. One thing I really want to get into is plastic. If you really take a step back and look how much plastic is in your home, workspace, interior and exterior of every building, every day-to-day activity has some sort of connection with plastic. They are everywhere. And it is, of course, unrealistic to get rid of all plastic in building materials at this time. But there are steps we can take to reduce plastic waste, decrease toxic chemical use, and curb the demand for fossil fuels. Now that we are clear on material toxicity, the impact it can have, and what chemicals we should keep an eye on, it's time to dive deeper into 3 practices we can lean on every day to do our part. First off, we have select better. So avoid worst in class plastics whenever possible. So where product and performance and chemical hazards are similar or better, non-plastic products are preferred. Not all plastic products are the same when it comes to impacts. Where plastic products are needed, avoid halogenated plastics or plastics reliant on halogenated chemistry during production, such as polyvinyl chloride, or furthermore known as PVC, or also known as vinyl, and epoxy-based materials. Where plastic products are needed, avoiding virgin plastic materials, reducing demand for oil and gas extraction, and ultimately mitigates harmful end-of-life scenarios for plastic wastes, such as incineration or landfilling.
The next step is prioritizing transparency. So preferring products with health product declarations, level, and or other certifications. Disclosure of product content, including the type of plastic used and any potential additives, allows for healthier material choices and better material end-of-life planning. In the case of products containing recycled plastics, disclosure of where the recycled content originated and any other additives that may be present is crucial in selecting healthier products. So it's really all about that education, and that's how you can go towards selecting better and prioritizing that in your product selection. The last point that we have on the list of the 3 practices to implement is aiming for circularity. So selecting products designed for recycling. Where possible, incorporating recyclable building materials in ways that allow for end-of-life recycling is preferred. Preferring products with take-back programs, because true plastics recycling rates they're abysmal. I think we all know that. And the most promising recycling programs are those in which manufacturers retain responsibility for their products and provide those options. And preferring products that are made with high levels of recycled content that have been screened to avoid toxic tag-alongs, and equally as important, contacting manufacturers to recycle any existing product. So it isn't necessarily easy, but the more you can inform and the more you can educate yourself, then the easier it does become.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and going back to prioritize transparency, so looking for health product declarations, level, and or other certifications. There are many certifications out there that you can look into, and we also make it easier to find those resources to actually learn more about them and educate yourselves, so you can make those decisions and put all of these practices and implement them by selecting better, prioritizing transparency, and aiming for circularity. One example that we would like to share, and we'll show you a little bit later, MSR Design, headquarters in Minneapolis, Minnesota. It's a LBC project, which means Living Building Challenge.
Living Building Challenge is a framework through the International Living Future Institute, and it really helps to direct the design scope. The program focuses on the overall impact in which the built environments have on the building's occupants as well as the surrounding community. And the compliant projects consider future sustainability of all building components, including material life cycle, community integration, human health impact, and self-sufficiency. So MSR Design's headquarters in downtown Minneapolis, Minnesota, was built by Stahl Construction, a general contractor also based in the Midwest. And it was just interesting to see them use that framework from beginning to end. I mean, and that framework includes 3 distinct pedal certifications, one for beauty, equity, and material selection. So highly recommend checking out ILFI as well as the Living Building Challenge, just to educate yourself on framework and to see some of the projects that are out there.
Mm-hmm. In the LBC, currently, I believe the MSR design building or project was either the 27th or 28th in the world that is fully certified in the LBC program. Now, there are over 400 that are actually going for different pedal certifications. So there's a lot into that, but you can at least start in each one. And there's a lot of resources through ILFI to really learn and educate about that, and where to start. And of course, if you want to go on the project level of things. So
yeah, and similar with a lot of project and product certifications, they're based on the actual performance of the space or the product. Really can only be awarded kind of a year or so after occupancy or a year or so after use. So it was fun to see them start the certification and then also be awarded it earlier this year.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And to finish up with plastics here, our buildings may seem increasingly like big dollhouses, right? And a climate nightmare. But as specifiers, designers, and architects, contractors, owners, and representatives of the industry, we have control of what products end up in our projects, starting with the recommendations previously mentioned. We have the power to influence demand for better and safer materials. In the case of plastics, choosing better materials can lead to less reliance on those fossil fuels, fewer greenhouse gas emissions, a decrease in toxic chemical use, and a win for our changing climate.
It really all starts with education.
Mm-hmm. So we wanted to circle back and show you a quick representation of what we were speaking of, the MSR design building project. So as you see here within the picture, you see a lot of things hanging down from the ceiling. They used a lot of the various plastics and things that they couldn't recycle and use it as a design. That was one of the biggest things when they were putting together. So aiming for that circularity, there may not be different ways to get rid of things in a sense, but you can turn them into a piece of art, like they have done in this particular case here. So this is part of that project that we wanted to quickly show you as well. And I believe there's one more here, just a different angle of, the beauty of a material that you can't get rid of. So it's aiming for that circularity. It's bringing it all back into one where, yes, it was created, not sustainably, but we can do our part in our social responsibility and not just throwing that away and letting it go into our oceans or landfills, wherever it may be, or burned up. We can use it in a design, which is a very, very cool and unique piece that they did within this LBC project. And I spoke on the 5 buckets of sustainability earlier, and I wanted to touch on those a little bit more as well. So this is the shift in how to evaluate the products and finishes specified daily, which I mentioned earlier: climate health, human health, the ecosystem health, circular economy, and social health equity as well too. And it gives some information there on what those mean really. So moving on, how do manufacturers get started? How does that conversation go? Or how does an architect start with a company who has prioritized those standards? So as you see here on the screen, how does a manufacturer recognize or start? Well, by finding the recipe. And that is usually broken down into 4 pieces. So number 1, the formula. Number 2, the ingredients. And number 3, calculating. And number 4, sharing. So that'd be disclosing the information and basically, of course, the recipe of what this product is made of. And I wanted to pull a quote too from Jane Abernathy with Human Scale. She's out of Canada. That's right. Yeah, she's in Toronto. Yeah. She's with Human Scale. She's the director of sustainability. And I'll read the quote here. It's really clear when you look at something that's a bit worn, those particles have gone somewhere. It doesn't stay in the product by the way you might be thinking when you first purchased the product. That really stuck with me because, things wear out, and where do those things go? Into the air, you breathe them, they come rub off on your hands, they can go really into any different space. And we're in that space continuously. Like I was speaking earlier, 90% of the time we're indoors or you're at your desk and, things get scratched or however, just basic wear and tear, those things can get into your skin, into your mouth, on your hands. So it's really important to take a look into what is in products and really having that transparency, and really, again, putting the demand, we can put that demand on manufacturers to really give us that information here. Anything else to share with Jen?
No, it was a really interesting conversation on material toxicity and transparency. I highly recommend taking a listen to if you have time, and we can be sure to share a link to the recording of that conversation. But Human Scale has been a leader in creating healthier workspaces, mindful materials, and the education and the access that they're providing to the manufacturer's information. I mean, really game changing for being able to source and specify sustainably certified products. So I highly recommend taking a look at those, but we'll be sure to share the link to the recording with you after the presentation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and to go back to manufacturers, how do they get started or recognize? Manufacturers have a few different roads that they can go and pursue healthy ways to bring their products to market. Declare labels, as you see on the screen here, is one. Cradle to cradle, HPDs, which are health product declarations, EPDs, which are environmental product declarations, and Green Guard are a few to name. These are used for the consumer to learn what is in the product and how it is made, where that also comes from, what to do with it when the lifespan is over, etc. Knowing these and getting familiar with these certifications will guide you to source better products, healthier products for both the environment and human well-being. And searching for brands with these certifications is a great place to start when searching for new specifiers. So I'll break down the quick declare label because this really gives a good representation of, Jen and I have said this a few times, of what a nutritional label looks like.
Mm-hmm.
So it has the manufacturer, where is it assembled, the life expectancy, the embodied carbon in it, the declared unit number, and then the end of life option. So if it's recyclable, landfill, take back program, as Jen was speaking about earlier as well. And then of course, the ingredients that go in that are involved in the product, your first component, which is your main ingredient, and then it will break down the LBC red list. So what we were talking about, if that has any sort of warning, they're just letting you know you can have red lists and still be declare labeled. It's just how much of the red list ingredient is in the product itself. And then of course they have a watch list there too. And then it just goes down even a little bit further and giving you more information if it's red list approved, how percent of it's disclosed, VOC content. There's just a ton of information. They're being fully transparent with you when they earn this declared certification here, as it's quite extensive to get into, and you really have to look into the recipe, or the manufacturer really has to look into the recipe of where their chemical makeup is coming from, all of the ingredients, and then putting that together for the finished product, and then having that go to market. They really are being fully transparent, for a lack of a better word there.
Yeah.
So now you might be thinking, is there an easy way to source brands and products with those certifications we were just talking about? When looking to source from brands and manufacturers who have achieved sustainability certifications and demonstrated a commitment to material transparency, turn to industry platforms that were built by and for the industry to make the process easier.
Mm-hmm.
One, being Mindful Materials, and two, being us here with Mortarr.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, each certification typically has websites that have information on the certification and different manufacturers that have achieved those. And there are a few platforms that are really working to bring all of those certifications together. Mindful Materials is a great database library of those certifications. You can search by manufacturer. And our platform, Mortarr, is really bringing all that together with visual inspiration. So photos of finished spaces that call out not only the professionals that brought that space to life, but the products featured within, and then really very visual access to the certifications that those products achieve.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So first up, how do we leverage these sourcing tools? So we'll tell you a little bit about how to use them, and just show and tell you again what they are really. So with Mindful Materials, share your what, how, and why. So their big three premise is act, educate, promote. And Mindful Materials is a free platform to use, aggregate information on human health and environmental impacts from products from leading manufacturers vetted by experts passionate about making it easier to make informed product choices. So CEO Annie Bevan says mindful materials is built by industry for industry to make it easier to identify what goes into the products we're selecting for our spaces. So again, they're giving you a full database of all the certifications that may be associated to a product, and letting you know that makeup all the way from, the basic chemistry of putting a product together and everything that is included in that. It's a platform for the A&D community to get into, really anybody in the industry to go in there and find and source different product information. And next up will be Mortarr.com. So commercial design, sustainable way. So we have certified companies on Mortarr.com, sustainable products, and certification tags. So when we go into Mortarr.com, which will show you how to use it and to find these sustainability filters and certifications, and really just the leafs, essentially the green throughout Mortarr.com, and how to use that throughout a search and where to look for it, because it can be used as a tool for you to, again, find certified companies you might want to reach out with, or you're building a team and putting that together where you might need an engineer or another architect or another designer, whoever it may be. You can look for companies that are certified. And on Mortarr, you'll have a green leaf next to the company if you are a certified company.
Yeah.
And sustainable products, as you see here, will have a circle around them. So in the installation image that we post for manufacturers that have sustainable products, we put a product tag in there. So that means you will be able to see that they are green, and you can click into it and they will have some sort of certification attached to it. And that goes over to the right here, our certification tags. So we've given a few examples there as well. So Declare, Zero Carbon, Living Building Challenge, and then Core Green Building Certification. So there's many more out there as well, which we can certainly get to. Is there anything else you want to add here, quick, Jen?
No, definitely. So Mortarr was really built to be a search engine for the commercial construction and design space. And we've worked really hard over the last year in partnership with ILFI and Mindful Materials to add sustainability information to our site. So that being able to filter down by the various certifications, being able to very easily visually see when a company is certified, or when a project is certified, when a product is certified. And so we've really worked really hard to make that as easily findable, searchable, and recognizable for our users. And it's really helped to promote those companies that have done that level of work, the ones that have the commitment to sustainability, that have taken the time and the efforts to get certified, get their products certified, get their projects certified. It's really added increased awareness to their efforts. It's really solidified that credibility. And so it's been exciting to see that develop on our site and really become a tool and resource for the industry to use.
Mm-hmm. Very good points. Yes. And again, like she said, search engine for space makers. So you can use the platform, create a personal profile if you wish, or you can just come do some searches, look for brands, look for professionals, look through the inspiration to get inspiration for a project that you might have coming up. See beautiful imagery throughout of different installation images on Mortarr.com.
Mm-hmm.
So why don't we jump over to Mortarr real quick, and we'll just take a quick tour. All right, everybody should be able to see my screen here. So let's say I'm going to take you on a quick user journey just to show, how I'm an architect looking for sustainable design, but I maybe have an idea of where I want to take this, like an open office design. What do you say about that, Jen?
Yep,
Does that sound like a good idea?
Yes. So welcome to Mortarr.com,
yes.
everybody.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes, I guess we should send that as well too. But yeah, so you can come in and do a simple quick search on our search bar here, which will break down into photos, professionals, and brands. A lot of us are attracted to the beautiful imagery, and especially that architectural, they're attracted to that, right? So I'm going to click into that view more, which will bring us to the inspiration tab. So Mortarr.com is also broken down by inspiration, pros, and brands. If you're looking more specific, you can certainly do that as well. You can also, in the inspiration, break that down by sector. You can break it down by space, product type, professional type, and here we have our beautiful green leaf with our certifications here.
And one thing to note too on the certification list is that it's been user generated and user built. So we partner with the showcasing subscribers on our site to get that information sharing going. And so as our subscribers are adding certifications to their Mortarr profiles, then our list is growing as well. We work closely with the team at ILFI to get kind of that base level certifications built out on our site. But as I mentioned, it's user generated and user built. So as there are additional certifications, so if you're seeing a certification not on this list, it's easily added once we know that a certified product or project has been added to the platform. So it's an ever growing list.
Yes. If there's anything on there that we don't have, we can certainly add. And then on Mortarr, you're able to view finished spaces, hello inspiration, which we're here.
Yep.
And you can learn more about what went into these different spaces that we'll get a little bit further into, or what we call the information behind the inspiration. So let's add, why don't we do project level, product level. Let's just see what, as you can see, it auto populates here. So very user friendly in updating this different filters. But if you're looking for more information specifically, you can also just click 1, 2, but for reasons here, we'll just go through a full-on certifications on the project level and product level. So if I were to scroll down through here, as you can see, you find things that you might like, might not like, but you can click into the imagery. What would be a good one here? Click into, Jen.
Those are our friends at Stahl.
Oh yeah, yep. This is Stahl here. So again, Stahl, they're a professional like yourselves, so they're a general contractor. So their company will be certified with the green leaf. Their project will also have the green leaf because the MSR design was LBC. So this is the one we were speaking on as well. As a user, if I really like this image and I want some more information about that and how maybe Stahl went about going into LBC, I can message them. And then of course I can go down and share and save and like these different images as well to a personal dashboard, so you can always save them. And then product information too, which in this particular case, this one is not sustainably. That is a quick look at what our gray tags will look like. But let's go ahead. Product information and downloading specs you may also do. And then see their whole project contributor network. You can see them as well. So again, LBC, it's a lot of work in there, and there's a lot of people involved. So they are promoting and showing off their team in the same sense.
I love, can you just quickly navigate over to Pioneer Millworks profile? Pioneer Millworks is a brand that's showcasing on our site, and they are just a great example of how they're showcasing the certifications that they've achieved, as well as our connectivity to Mindful Materials.
Yeah, so when you're looking, you can be more specific. I'm looking for brands or manufacturers. And again, I'm looking for material transparency. I can go directly into the brands on mortarr.com, and then I can break down product type, sector served again, and then here's our certifications as well. So I'm going to go over and do product level. We'll search all, and it will populate who has worked in that space. So as you can see, each company
green leaves again.
will have the green leaves again as well. So Pioneer Millworks, I'm going to click into their card here, which gives some information about that. But then it's going to dive into their profile, so I can learn all about this manufacturer, see their green sustainability movements, or that they're green certified, and learn more about them. And then what Jen was speaking to, so if you want to ever get in contact with them, more product information, you can call them, visit website, and then you can use the Mindful Materials integration as well. So you can get to their full database that has all of their information on their products integrated into Mindful Materials as well.
Yeah, we're currently partnering with Mindful Materials to get to link up our two databases. And the nice thing about Mindful Materials is, like has mentioned, it's a free platform to use. And so this link right here would take you directly into Pioneer Millworks Mindful Materials library. Get your free login, and you have direct access to all of the certification and sustainability information on their full product line. So it's really within a few, from one platform, from Mortarr.com, within a few clicks, you have access to that education and the resources that you need in order to be able to specify and source sustainably. Mm-hmm. So really trying to make it as easy as possible and also as visual as possible. There are other platforms that are providing that level of information and connectivity, but really nothing yet on the market that has that visual inspiration, the products and the pros behind it, and then that access to the education and information that you need to be able to work more sustainably.
Yeah, bringing it full circle.
Mm-hmm.
Really, basically, we were talking about aiming for circularity. Well, we're doing that in our own digital world,
right,
of giving you the educational pieces that you can use for tools and resources to find the information that you might be looking for.
Yeah. One quick point about that circularity too, and this isn't a new conversation for the A&D industry, but like architects and designers are asking for more sustainable products to be manufactured. Manufacturers respond and they make those sustainable products, but that communication back and forth isn't always possible. The building process takes 12 to 18 months, if not longer sometimes, and and those products are initially specified and sourced at the very beginning of a project, and so it can be hard to have that follow through and that communication. And what's great about what we're doing, our partnership with Mindful Materials, is that we're able to provide access, like we're able to provide not only that education and that information to the A&D industry using our platform, but then the manufacturers are aware too of the access to the information and the clicks and different things like that. So we're really helping to kind of keep that circle of communication flowing, which is so important for sourcing more and manufacturing more.
Mm-hmm. And yeah,
that's a big conversation, but just so interesting to add in.
Well, it goes to our point that we made earlier. If we're putting pressure on them that we want these different sustainability, we want transparency, right? Mm-hmm. We have the power to do and demand where, potentially they're going to have to do it regardless, right? We can, kind of shut them off really, if we really got that deep, of course, but we can put the demand there. And really put our foot down and really demand for the transparency. And these are ways that, again, like Jen said, coming full circle with it and really putting forth that educational piece in that full circle of communication.
Yeah, definitely.
And then, like we were talking about educational. So on the different sustainability certifications, if you didn't know what Declare was or what Green Guard is or Health Product HPDs, you can hover over and it will tell you a quick snippet of what it is. What is this cert exactly? Well, Green Guard certification means a product is designed for indoor spaces in such a way that it meets strict chemical emissions limits and has been tested for more than 10,000 chemicals. Well, if I want even more information, so I'm, like we were talking about the user journey, I'm getting into this sustainability space. I need to learn more. I can do it on my own pace. I can click into Green Guard and find out more information right from Mortarr.com as well. So again, having that full circularity of communication between these various platforms and certifications, we're putting it all into one area. So a great resource to come and source and find new ways to find sustainability.
Mm-hmm, definitely.
Yeah. Anything else to add on here real quick, Jen?
But yeah, no, thank you so much, for running us through the sustainability information on the site. We think it's really helpful to educate and provide access to more information.
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely. So we can come to Mortarr.com, check it out. Feel free to do so. But let's get back to our slides here. There we go. A couple, quick notes that I wanted to add towards the end here as we finish this off. I understand that sustainability can be intimidating, but the resources and tools allow you to go at your own pace, at the comfort of your own willingness to dive into something that may be new to you. One thing is certain, the products we select and the materials that go into them have an immense impact on our environment, as things we've talked about today, the harmfulness of materials that potentially have in their chemical makeup. It's important for us to know and source. And like Jen was saying, that quote from Eric, that, we have that social responsibility and ethical responsibility to our clients to have that conversation. So just start that. Ask yourself, what impact can I make? And one thing I wanted to also touch on too here is an article from Jen here.
Yeah, the same conversation that we had with Eric. He was just very, very quick to say, you just need to start, that we have a responsibility in this space to be providing clients and the built environment with these resources, and just to, don't get overwhelmed. Just start somewhere. And platforms like Mindful Materials, ILFI, Mortarr, conversations like these are the best way to just get started, so that we can start doing more and start doing better.
Yeah, and one way to look back on the 5 buckets of sustainability, if you can start, filling one of those, they'll ultimately start filling each other up. I believe Annie Bevan was saying that.
Yeah,
So
yeah, that's
we'll
great
go back
comment.
we'll go back to Annie Bevan on that too. And again, just like we said too, start with one material, one product in a conversation, and implement it into your next new client meeting or whatever type of design or project that you might be working on. And it will start to really take off and snowball and get into a practice. Like we said, going back to the practice as well too, would be the select for better, prioritize transparency, and aim for circularity.
Yep. 3 little steps.
Yeah. 3 little steps. And then one, Jen, you asked the question to Corey, what advice would you give architects interested in sustainable and resilient design? I love his response to this. And it was, what are you waiting for? Your clients desperately need you to provide them with bold, robust, regenerative design for buildings. Don't wait for them to ask. We have a moral and ethical obligation to push them toward net zero energy, healthy and resilient buildings now. The best part, if you do it right, it actually saves your clients money.
Yeah, definitely. So to recap, we hope you've enjoyed the presentation today. So just recapping those learning outcomes of the presentation. Where do you start with material transparency? Simply start where you can and leverage industry tools to make it easier for you. How do you know what chemicals are included in products? Look for the green labels on products. What is the impact of material transparency? Be more mindful of what goes into our products leads to healthier spaces and healthier human beings. And how can you evaluate if manufacturers disclose and are transparent? Lean on industry certifications and don't be afraid to ask the manufacturers directly. Be a part of the change you hope to see.
Yes, thank you, Jen. And again, thank you for everybody coming out and checking us out today. We really appreciate it. And it was a great conversation. We were excited to get into this. This is our first one, and I hope that we'll be continuing some more conversations as well in the future, and a few other topics that we can cover. So again, thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you from you soon.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.
Thank you. For more continuing education opportunities, please visit the RAIC website at raic.org/continuing education.